Good morning, everybody. Surprise, surprise. Let me know if you can't hear me. My internet's kind of giving me some issues. Good morning, Jerry. So hopefully we'll get through this. I just switched to my phone hotspot because, I don't know, the Wi-Fi gods don't like me this morning. Feels like my brain. The internet is my brain. If you guys have been following me, I've been doing some TBI treatment out here in Texas. That's why my background looks a little different. I'm in a hotel out here. Good morning, Deb, Mr. Hey, Eric, good to see you. It's great to see everybody. Man, I finally don't feel like garbage, which is great. I've been out here for a week and a half. If any of you all know me, I run my own show, Outpost Gray, but I've taken about a month off from live streaming, and I've been out here for 2 weeks. So this is my first live stream in 2 weeks. Hey, Kimberly, good morning. And it's good to be back on here. I'm a little slow, drinking some coffee. I never drink. So I found out something really interesting. If anybody has any veterans in here, military veterans, or anybody that's had a major concussion or a TBI, when males typically have a TBI, you all have high blood pressure, or when women have a TBI, we have extremely low blood pressure. Mine's so low that sometimes it's under 100. Most days it's under 100. And so I quit drinking coffee in November I did it to help me actually because I was just drinking too much. I was drinking 3 to 4 cups a day. So I quit. Carrie, if you're in here, I know you had quit coffee for a while, but come to find out, coffee is actually good for me because it helps raise my blood pressure. So my homework is drink more coffee, which is wild. So I'm over here drinking a cup. Hopefully I got my blood pressure up to about 110 yesterday, and I felt amazing. So that's awesome. So we're trying to keep it in those triple digits. Carrie, 5 months without coffee. That's amazing. Yeah, I've moved to tea, but I'm going to move back to drinking some coffee. So that will be awesome for me. Let me get my window up over here too. Yeah, I was having so many technical issues this morning. Okay, cool. You guys can see that. Awesome. How are you guys doing? Are you guys excited for this weekend? I know I am. I have an extra flight. This one, I like that. I have an earlier flight. I paid extra $20 for an earlier flight to leave tomorrow night. So I'm pretty excited. Hopefully, God willing, there's no travel delays because this is the holiday weekend. My plans for the weekend is literally to just relax and enjoy the company of my fur kitty. If you guys know that, I have this amazing cat. He is like a dog. And hashtag Team Live. I love that, Eric. Hashtag Team Live. A couple of days ago, I think Jerry should do a t-shirt with just a hashtag Team Live and hashtag Team Replay. I know you guys are probably missing Jerry, him and his brilliant personality. I think he comes back tomorrow for sure, that next week, enjoying that vacation. All right, so let's go. Yes, I see it. Hashtag Team Live. You guys are awesome. I love it. Love it. Yes. All right, let's get into it. I have to cut out of here right around 7:40, 7:35, so I can get over to the clinic. So let's go ahead and jump into this. I kind of scanned what we have going on today, so this should be, I'm excited about some of the discussing. Let's kick it off. Hopefully I can get this right.
From the CISO series, it's cybersecurity headlines.
It's Thursday, June 30th, 2022. NATO to create rapid response cyber force. The declaration calling for the force's creation cites the success of Ukraine's cyber defense based around a rapid response team on the ground. It also calls for an enhanced civil-military cooperation to strengthen cyber defenses in the bloc. The Rapid Response Force would be created on a voluntary basis between members using national assets. While previous NATO declarations have mentioned concerns about cybersecurity, this document cites a radically changed security environment requiring a baseline for member defense.
Okay, on this, so I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I deployed to Eastern Europe in 2019. I was part of the Operation Atlantic Resolve. I do cyber and electronic warfare for the military, And I was working out there with our NATO partners, and I did a lot of work in Ukraine. I mean, I deployed to Ukraine a dozen times to work with the NATO forces to help them with their cyber policy. So it was really high level. Just so you guys kind of understand what this means and this rapid response cyber force. A lot of times when you're working in foreign countries, and I'm taking the lens from the US DoD side, you have two things: authorities and permissions. And when you're in other countries, you might have the authority. So you might have the congressional support, and there might be a law that's supporting you to be able to operate in that area to do cyber operations, but you won't have the permissions, or vice versa. A lot of times, get permission from the country. So Ukraine, for example, we had permission to do cyber operations out there. That was easy. Ukraine was like, yeah, we'll let you come here, do as much as you want, but we didn't have authority to do it. The authority in the cyberspace, and I also work in electronic warfare, it's extremely hard to get. And a lot of times that's because there is, my personal opinion, but there's two factors. You have the congressional laws and everything to support it. Then you have combatant commanders. And those combatant commanders are over an area within the world. So we've got like Europe. So you've got a combatant commander that's we'll just say managing that area. Well, a lot of those officers, a lot of those stars, those general officers, those GOs are what I call risk adverse, because if they make the wrong, if they approve the wrong concept of operation and things go south and they start a cyber war, it's on their head and it could ruin their career. So you have a lot of politics when you're in this, when you're working in a different country, and especially within cyber operations. I think a lot of that has to do with our congressional leaders not understanding cyber operations. So what'll happen is, for example, we could not do actual cyber operations. We had to do operations that fell under a training to do anything out there, just because we didn't want to have it appear that we were trying to do any defensive. That's what we call it, defensive operations or offensive operations. We could only do defensive operations because we didn't want to start a war, cyber war. So it would take 6 to 8 months to get anything approved. And you know how quickly cyber works. It's going to be a moot point 6 to 8 months down the road if we're trying to combat something with cyber war. So something like this, and this has actually been talked about for quite a long time. It was getting talked about in 2019 in the Balkans region, over in the Arctic area. That's where there's a lot of work being done in a joint effort in the cyberspace. And this is going to be great because I would have to read more into the authorities they're going to be giving this element, but hopefully they have a certain set of authorities and permissions, that more agility to be able to respond. That's the whole point of this. So we're not sitting there waiting for a GO, waiting for congressional support to approve a cyber operations. We'll be able to have a quicker reaction time. So this is kind of a big deal. Again, they've been talking about it for years, but the government moves really slow. So I think with everything that's happening in Ukraine and just around the world as a whole, this is starting to kick off. So this is great news. Look forward to seeing this actually something happen with it. And because I've been saying this for quite a long time, we need to have more agility on the battle space when we're doing cyber and electronic warfare, or we call it CEMA operations, cyber electromagnetic activities space, and that this will support it. So I would definitely be paying attention to this, because if a cyber war broke out and it impacted a NATO country, this would be the team that would be deployed first thing out of the hat with other supporting elements.
The FBI warns of deepfakes for remote work. The law enforcement agency issued a warning this week that it's received increasing complaints of people using deepfake videos during interviews for remote tech jobs, particularly ones that have access to sensitive information. To add authenticity, applicants will use stolen identity information in an attempt to pass pre-employment background checks. The FBI did not say if any organization was behind the attack, but advised to look out for actions and lip movements that do not coordinate with the audio of the person speaking during interviews.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys have had interviews where they don't make you turn on the camera, because I have. They do it. A lot of these organizations will not make you turn on the camera because they want to have equality. That's what I was told when I went through an interview process, because as they were like, hey, it's virtual. We do not require, nobody turns on the camera. It just makes it an even playing field. So when I read this, that's the first thing I think about is I'm like, well, they're going to have to start turning on the camera. I remember that I didn't see the live stream yesterday, but I did listen to the CISO series yesterday. And I think this was part of yesterday's or the day before, as you guys can correct me if I'm wrong there, but we've already talked about it. So I think it's interesting that they're bringing this up again, but this is a big deal. Cyber criminals are getting really, really smart and deep faking videos. I looked through this article briefly just to see what jobs they were going for, and they are IT specific jobs. They don't know who's behind it, but that's bravo. This is super creative, but I think turning on the video is going to help mitigate some of that. And then the positions are going for IT jobs, so administrative privileges, things like that you're going to be able to get. I don't think we're going to probably see these as much in maybe on particular like HR jobs. I think we're going to see this in definitely cyber and IT, or positions that would allow individuals to have administrative rights, like elevated privileges. And a lot of times you can get that in IT as an entry-level position, which blows my mind, but they need to get on your system. They need to fix your computer. They're going to need to have admin rights. And they could be, first year in IT person, help desk personnel.
Ship controls identified as another major attack surface. Back in 2019, a container ship sailing for New York experienced a malware attack. The attack never compromised ship controls, but startled authorities. Coast Guard Rear Admiral Wayne Arguin said shipping now faces similar cyber risks to other industries, saying, I feel very confident that every day networks are being tested, which really reinforces the need to have a plan. The International Maritime Organization issued cybersecurity guidelines for the industry to adopt by 2021, but many shipping companies are doing the bare minimum, even as they expand connectivity to shipping vessels. Added to this is the patchwork of systems from different vendors aboard each ship, making it difficult to make sure patches are applied timely. It's believed the occurrence of cyber incidents in shipping is vastly underreported, with the Coast Guard calling for greater information sharing in the industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the last part of that, a lot of the incidences that are happening are vastly underreported, because I've seen, even when I was in 2019, when I worked out in Atlantic Resolve, we received reporting on a daily basis because we were out there. This was going on. Ships were being taken over, like GPS on ships were getting taken over. Do you all remember when Russia took over Crimea and it took over the port? And do you remember, you guys, if you can find the article on, Russia was taking over the GPS of the different ships that were out there, primarily Ukrainian ships, and moving them to different locations. I don't remember the story precisely, but I just remember it was a big deal that was happening. This stuff has been going on for a while. I find it interesting that they're just now saying that it's a concern, and that they're surprised that now shipping controls are now being threatened. This has been going on for quite a long time. I don't know why now it's coming out as a big, and I'm also not surprised that they're doing the bare minimum. I think we've talked about this a lot. I'm actually happy that they're doing the bare minimum. I don't know what that bare minimum is. I didn't see it, look through this article before today's show, but I'm curious to know, what does the bare minimum mean for that organization? That could be a myriad of different things, but not surprised. What I'm actually surprised is that it's taken this long to start talking about it, and I'm waiting for something big to transpire, for a GPS to be taking over or something like that, to cause a lot of deaths for us to talk about it even further, or like a shipping container to get moved from one part of the world, and instead of coming to America, it goes to like China or something. Before they recognize it, they're in a completely different part of the ocean. Could definitely happen. I pushed play, but this is mine, so give me just a second, y'all. Can you guys hear that dog that I have next door to me? I have somebody left a dog in their hotel room, and it just keeps crying. I did a reset on this. We'll see if this starts back up again. I apologize for the internet gods this morning. Okay, I might have to do a refresh on the podcast really quickly. Let's see if I can get it right back into the sync.
Is vastly underreported,
All right.
with the Coast Guard calling for great information sharing in the industry. India delays enforcement on new VPN rules. The Indian Computer Emergency Response Team announced it will delay enforcement of these new rules that will require cloud, virtual private server, and VPN providers to store names, IP addresses, email addresses, and financial transactions. The rules were set to go into effect on July 4th, but are now delayed until September 25th to give additional time for compliance from the industry. Several VPN providers have announced plans to exit the Indian market as a result of the new rules, and security experts have called on India to not implement the changes, saying it would weaken overall cybersecurity protections. And now, thanks to today's episode sponsor, Optiv.
We'll play that in just a second, make sure we get through that. But okay, so for this, I guess, do you guys, I read this and I need to do more research to understand why they think this is a good idea. Like, we know that data is getting stolen. We know the more data that you have, the more likelihood an adversary is going to attack you, because data is gold. Data is oil, I guess you could say, because that's more expensive now than gold. But why? Who thinks this is a good idea in India to collect user data? I know that, what was it, ExpressVPN and what's on here, in Nord and ExpressVPN, they have an intention to move themselves, but in here it says intentions to remove local service in the country. I know that this was a report that came a week or two ago, or maybe about this happening, and I'm not comprehending why they think this is a good idea to go ahead and store all the welcome to the Jack's party, Eric. Store this kind of information. So it doesn't make sense to me. I think that more organizations are going to leave their servers in India, and then do a proxy so you can still use their services, and then you can still have your VPN coming out of India if for some reason you need it. Probably if you live in India and you have a VPN and you need to access certain things. So not everybody can leave them, but yeah, this doesn't make sense to me. I don't know who thought this was a good idea to make this happen. And then needing the additional time, I'm not surprised. I know the new rule came out in September, and now they need an additional 3 months. I wonder what their protocols are. I'm curious to know, what are their protocols to secure that data? Streaming for adversaries to go after organizations that have VPN providers and cloud service providers operating in India, because they know this data is going to be stored there. That's another thing. You're putting an X on your back if you remain there. All right, let's do the sponsor for the CISO series. Play this for them.
Modern enterprise needs a solution as unique as its business. Optiv's Advanced Detection and Response, or ADR, works with your organization to comb through the DNR clutter and find the ideal security solution for your business. ADR delivers tailored detection and response, backed by technology, real-time intel, and deep expertise applied at touch. Bottom line, ADR finds and neutralizes threats fast, so you can focus on what matters. If you'd learn about Optiv ADR, please visit optiv.com/ADR.
And I wanted to also take a minute. No, I'm not going to do that. Keep moving. My TBI, focus in. Joel, you cracked me up. I saw you guys, your sidebar conversation. I was scrolling over here and it was making me laugh. Yeah, good idea, Ferry. Definitely. Wasn't well thought out plan at all. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into the next story.
Former Uber CSO charged with wire fraud.
This is great.
U.S. District Judge Cisco ruled that former Uber Chief Security Officer Joseph Sullivan will face fraud charges over an alleged role in trying to cover up a 2016 cyber attack that leaked information on millions of drivers. Prosecutor Sullivan agreed to pay the attackers $100,000 in Bitcoin and signed non-disclosure agreements saying they did not steal data. Sullivan attempted to claim that his alleged deception only applied to then CEO Travis Kalanick and Uber's general counsel, but the judge ruled the actions were part of a larger scheme to defraud impacted drivers. Uber settled claims by all 50 U.S. states regarding the data leak in 2018 for $148 million.
Okay, so speaking of good idea fairy, this was a good idea. I mean, it's already bad enough that when we have a cyber breach, organizations are not forthcoming about an incident for a myriad of different reasons. And so we already know that it's a big issue because we'll find out sometimes, 6 months to a year later that an organization was breached. And so we have all of these laws. We have all these laws in place now around data protection to inform users if their data has been breached. I know mine has been breached multiple times because of the VA. So I have a free service that I've been using for the past 6 years to monitor all the information I give it, emails, social security numbers, all that. So we know this is a problem. We've seen it. But then, who thought this was a good idea? He could not have been acting alone, all by himself to say, hey, this is a really good idea. Let's pay cyber criminals who just stole our data to then pay them money. I think it was, 1,000 in Bitcoin, 100,000 some coin, to have them sign an NDA, because these guys have so much integrity, to not tell anybody that you stole our data. I mean, that's kind of a good deal. And it doesn't really go in, I didn't read this fully, and they didn't really say it during the brief summary of it. 100,000 in Bitcoin, have them sign a non-disclosure agreement that falsely states they had not stolen data. This is awesome. Okay, this is great. I want to know what happened. I'm guessing because you were working with cyber criminals, it somehow finally came out that the data was stolen. And what really pisses me off on this is own your, almost said SHIT, but own what you did. Organization, protect your users. The data was stolen, protect the users. Announce the breach, and then put security protocols in place to protect the user's data going forward. But to hide it, this could have possibly created a loss of, individuals could have lost their identity because of this breach, could have wrecked their entire world. Their credit cards, they could have maxed out debt on their credit cards. I mean, it's just something like this just really pisses me off, because that Uber they obviously could afford $100,000 in Bitcoin. And at that time, I don't know how much that was. It's a little less today, but this just blows my mind. Why wouldn't you have just paid a quarter of that, or, of that Bitcoin amount to better protect your organization or better protect your users? But instead you wanted to cover your butt and save the organization, the organization, Uber is going to be around. It's not going anywhere. Uber and Lyft, these are enterprise organizations. They're going to be able to withstand a cyber attack or data getting stolen. It just blows my mind. Who thought this was a good idea, and why do something like this to your users? And I love Uber, but this would almost make me want to stop using Uber. Man, they've definitely found a niche market, but very, very frustrating hearing this report. Just really, really shady.
Ukraine busts phishing sites. Police arrested 9 members of a group operating over 400 phishing sites. They appear to be legitimate EU portals offering financial assistance to people in the country, but would use forms to steal payment card information and banking credentials. The police estimate the group stole the equivalent of $3.3 million from about 5,000 victims. It's not clear how users ended up on sites, either through email phishing, social media spam, or direct messaging. Police worked with the National Bank of Ukraine to track down scammers.
Okay, so we all know, well, actually, never assume. Okay, so phishing, understand how phishing works. Phishing is designed to leverage a person's emotions, like trigger an emotional response is the most successful way of doing a phishing. What I mean by that is that usually a phishing attempt, an email, let's just use email. That's what we're talking about here. Typically, an email will have something like your account has been locked, you will elections, pay now in the next 24 hours before you go to collections. This particularly was about financial aid. So you're in a relation right now. You've just fled your country that you've lived for your entire life because there's a war going on. Email saying that I don't know if it's down. I wish they would, maybe they gave us an example, but you need to file your financial aid. Please click on this link and receive your financial aid. We saw this with COVID. We saw this with stimulus checks. And it's because when you're in a crisis or you're in a panic, you don't think as clearly. And adversaries know that. And so you will notice if you ever pay attention to phishing campaigns and adversaries, they move with the times. That's what I always, when I was working in Intel, it's how I would always explain it. They move with the times. What is going on right now in the world that they can leverage to create emotional response from that user, especially when it's a spray and pray, something like this, something really big and broad. They're going to leverage it and try to get emotional response from you to click. And that's when you just need to stop and think. And this like breaks my heart because I don't know people directly. Like I haven't had friends directly that were impacted by signing up for a falsified check, but I saw the numbers coming in. I was working at a fintech at the time when a lot of COVID phishing emails were coming in, and it was staggering how many people were getting impacted. And instead of receiving the money they thought they were going to have to help keep their family afloat or pay their mortgage, their bank accounts were getting drained. And you see this, and they took how much money? You guys see it in there, let me know. But they took quite a bit of money from these users right here. Here it is. It's breaks my heart. So according to the police estimate, the total damage caused by a cyber criminal operation is 100 million Hervnes. I don't know. That's probably Ukrainian money. I don't know. That's approximately 3.3 million stolen from roughly 5,000 victims. That's a significant amount of money, especially if you're already in a crisis. So like the biggest thing on this, and good for them. I want to say for the Ukrainian team, the Ukrainian cyber police, I mean, they've got a lot going on. If you guys have seen the news, and for them to be able to take down over 400 phishing websites, what's disheartening is I know that there's probably triple that out there, but at least they've taken down 400. And I just, oh man, I just hope that paying attention and just best public service announcement for anybody watching this right now internationally, or if you're impacted by Ukraine, don't click. Don't click. Make sure that you verify everything in that email. Hover over that URL to verify the URL before you click on it, because this is what they're going to be doing right now. They're going to be leveraging everything that's going on in that country to try to get you to click. And then steal your identity, steal your data, your information, your bank account information. That's probably the information they stole. Visitors, payment card data, and online banking account credentials. Oh man, it breaks my heart. Yeah, so this isn't surprising at all, and it's probably way more than 400. I think we had within a month there was like, and I can't remember the numbers exactly, but it was over 1,000, 1,500, something like that. COVID sites popping up when vaccine first started coming out. I mean, it was crazy. You couldn't even keep up with trying to take down the sites. And I guarantee that's the same thing here, but at least they got these 400. It's wild. And it froze again. Okay, let me see if I can get this to reset and do. I can do this.
Track down the scammers. Firefox update helps with Folina. With the release of Firefox 102, Mozilla made changes to the browser to help combat PowerShell execution vulnerability. The release blocks MS-MSDT, Search, and Search-MS Pro, which previously bypassed the filter to deliver content to Microsoft applications. Mozilla said it was not aware that these were used for the exploits through Firefox, but blocked them since Molina was under active exploitation. The update also fixed bugs where users could drag an image file to a desktop, which would allow an executable to be saved, and fix an address bar spoofing bug on Linux.
For this report right here, this is just a good, in my opinion, a good situational awareness to know that, 102 fixes, that's substantial for Firefox. I personally don't use Firefox. I'm Chrome 100%. So, this is great. It's any organization that's going out of their way to fix things, I think is very good. I was looking through this right before this live stream just to kind of see what the versions of patches were. And there were a couple of significant ones. I found this one pretty interesting. A pop-up window could be resized in a way to overlay the address bar with web content. I didn't dig into this, but I'm really curious about this. It basically, the bug allows a malicious website to create a pop-up window and then resizes it to overwrite the browser's own address bar. that is, wow, that is like good for that adversary for creating that. That's a little concerning though, to think, wow, how creative are the adversaries are getting with getting us to click on things. So I found that extremely interesting. If it was you and your organization uses Firefox, or you personally use Firefox, you may take a few minutes and kind of just comb through these CVEs. I wanted to bring this to your attention. I saw this. I thought this looking at the difference of the fake and real site. I looked at this for quite a long time, and other than things being off, little slightly, one of the real one's a little up with the thing versus the left one, everything's kind of shifted, but you wouldn't know that unless this was a side-by-side. But this is how legitimate these sites are looking. And so it's becoming more, eventually, I personally think we're not going to be able to tell the difference of fake sites. We're just going to have certain security protocols in place to help block these sites, and then our overall cyber hygiene with the sites that we go to, the things that we click on, the Chrome browsers that we use. We're just going to have to be more intentional with our mannerisms when we're searching on the web, because it's going to become we're going to have deep fake websites. So definitely an interesting report. But again, I'm a Chrome person. I don't even use Firefox, but this is, I guess I would use Firefox if my Chrome quit working. Love Chrome. All right. And I think we have one or two more.
Patch in time saves money. According to a new report by 30'rd Defense, in Q1, 82% of successful cyber attacks were the result of unpatched vulnerabilities, compared to 18% from social engineering against employees. The Exchange proxy shell exploit, a third of external breaches, will insecure remote desktop protocol servers for another quarter. The report found compromises from unpatched systems cost organizations 54% more than those by user action like phishing. The report also notes that the cost of cloud misconfigurations are generally much lower than unpatched systems, even though these can often get more public attention. We cover
All right. Okay. Is anybody surprised by this? First off, if you are, let me know. We'll talk on the side. This is not surprising at all. We already know that patch management is critical organization. Educating your employees not to click. That I'm actually going to sit down and read through this article a little bit more. I'm a person, I love numbers, I love percents, I love to know what are the statistics. So I thought this was really interesting. This is the first time I'm seeing this report, but 82% of successful attacks are done through remote desk protocols, RDP. Which I saw a lot of this when I was working in the fintech, a lot of the TTPs being utilized. So I agree with that. While social engineering employees to take some action phishing account for just 18% of successful compromises. That's really interesting, because I know that human error is still the number one factor for breaches to occur. So it's really interesting that they're accounting 82% for the remote desktop protocols and being able to get in there, while social engineering 18%. I'm not surprised that log4 shell bug continues to see great deal of media coverage, but it was only used in 2% of breaches. I know that we had a, so if you guys listened to Gerald a few days ago, I don't know if it was Monday or last week's live stream, but he was talking about patching and the importance of patching, but how challenging patching is. So I'm going to unplug this extra screen that I have, and then I'm going to plug my laptop in really quick. Hopefully I don't wonderful. My computer's like drinking all my battery today. So just so you understand why this isn't that surprising, but why it's so hard for organizations to do patching. And Gerald already covered this, but for anyone that didn't watch that live stream, I'm going to cover it to super high level with you. Well, what'll happen a lot of times, and I've seen this really in the DoD, we have a lot of legacy systems sometimes in the DoD space. It's not entirely because of budget grades, which a lot of it has to do with having, certain budget to upgrade systems and getting those necessary approvals to update from Windows Vista to a different system. But a lot of times it's because individuals will come in, Bob, and he'll set up a system, and it's like in the corner in the server room, and it does a thing, but only he knows, and he's been there for 15 years, and he created, he customized and did customized coding on this system, and he's retired. Well, if you do any patching, it could possibly mess up Bob's system that nobody touches and touched in 15 to 20 years, however, runs the entire organization's HR department, the system, because he coded a software for HR to use, for example. And I've seen this happen. And so no patching gets done, or if it does, it only gets done on particular segments of the network. And so that system over there could be causing likely high probability, 99.9% is a vulnerability to that network because it's probably running Windows Vista. True story. And it hasn't been patched in ages, because if it did, then Bob's coding would screw up everything and they would have to start over. And so you see that a lot of times in very large enterprise organizations. It's a hard thing to control because you would have to micromanage every single person that came in. It was working in that environment. Plus, when Bob probably pitched the program we could code, it was probably a cost-saving thing. Instead of hiring this service provider to come in, I can just code it for a quarter of the cost. It'll be super easy. But the thing that we always forgot about was the third and fourth order effects of what'll happen if Bob leaves. Who else knows how to operate and maintenance on this software that he's developing? So thankfully, certain organizations are getting away from getting smarter. They're doing things that integrate into their overall organization, but that's not across the board. You're still going to have issues with patching certain systems in your environment because not all the APIs are going to work correctly when you do a patch. So things to consider. This isn't surprising. I would definitely take some time and comb through this if you've got a few minutes. So that covers today's set. I did want to add really quickly, shout out and thanks to this stream sponsor, Barricade Cybersyn's Eric Taylor. He has the company that provides you the solutions in incident response to help you quickly resolve your cyber incident and get you back on track. So if you're thinking of trying to find an incident response, maybe you have an incident right now that you're dealing with, you need to reach out to Barricade Cyber Solutions. Eric Taylor's in chat. Great guy. Can't say enough about him. Thank you all for showing up today. I've got to cut out of here and go to my TBI clinic. Another really good note to Gerald for allowing me to come in here and do this live stream. I really love you guys. I haven't seen a few of you in a long time, so it's been great to live stream with you. If you want to see more of me, hop on over to Outpost Gray. I love you guys. Have a wonderful day. Bye.